church. You know, God gave me that song about 4 years ago, I think it was. And, you know, when He gave it to me, I didn't really understand why He was giving me a song like that. I still had my mom, my dad, and I had never lost anybody close to me. And, but, you know, nothing to my credit, but that song, it's touched. Oh, my goodness, so many lives all across this country. We were down in Florida, and a lady, she heard us sing that song. And she had lost her husband to brain cancer. It had been 5 years. And she said, for 5 years, I've been mad at God, and I've not had peace about why He took my husband. But tonight I heard that song, and for the first time since my husband's gone on, I've had peace.
Amen.
See, we don't do this for the money. We do it for things just like that. That's why we do it, church. October the 22nd. October the 21st, I went up to the hospital. My dad had suffered his 5th minor stroke in the past 12 months. And this one was a tough one. And we went up we had talked to the doctor that Monday afternoon, and we had to go home and we had to make a decision. We had to decide as a family either to take my dad home on hospice care, to the nursing facility, or stay in the hospital a little bit longer with hopes of recovery. I was sitting at dinner with my wife, and I told her, I said, you know, nobody in the family wants to make this decision. You know what? I want God to either heal him or I want Him to take him home. And that Tuesday night, brother, God did both.
Amen.
He did both. And I was going up to the hospital. To know my mom and dad was to love them. My mom, she still lives. She's living with me and my wife. And I've never witnessed a love story this side of heaven stronger than the love that my mom and dad had for each other. I thank God for the Christian home that I was raised in.
Amen.
This year would have been 60 years that they had been married. For 45 of those years, my dad preached and pastored. Most unselfish man that I know, him and my mom. For their whole life, they put everybody else in front of their own needs. Had 4 kids. I'm 40-year-old, and my mom still calls me the baby. and 4 kids, a whole bunch of great-grandkids and great-great and grandchildren. And I guess that Tuesday afternoon, everybody in the family got to come by and say goodbye to their dad and to their grandpa and their great-grandpa. And how many of you have ever been beside the bed of a loved one as they were passing? This was my very, very first time, and I didn't know what to expect. There was moments of sorrow and sadness. But you know what? In our situation, it seemed like there were more moments of laughter than anything. About 4 o'clock, the room had filled with laughter. My dad hadn't opened his eyes in about 2 days. About 4 o'clock, the room had filled with laughter. And my dad opened his eyes, just as big and as bright as you could imagine. And he must have looked at everybody in that room, and a tear come rolling down his eye. And I think at that point, he knew how much his family loved him. 8:30 that night, my mom says, I wonder what he's waiting on to make his crossing. I said, Mom, I don't know. Everybody in the family has said goodbye. Only God knows what He's waiting on. I said, but I do know one thing. For the 40 years that I've been alive, I've never witnessed the 2 of you go your separate ways without giving each other a bye hug and a bye kiss. My mom says, you think that's what it is? I said, Mom, whether you all are going to work or going to the grocery store, wherever you go, you kiss each other goodbye. and she stood up beside the bed. She put her hand on his cheek. My dad could bring laughter to any situation. And I think that's why there was so much laughter in his last day here on earth. And in my dad's last few breaths, my mom, she stood up, she put her hand on his cheek. And with God as my witness, my dad does this number. He puckers up just as big as you could imagine. That room just filled with laughter. Brother, I will never, ever forget that moment. And you know what? My mom, she kissed him. She said, honey, I love you. I could not have asked for a better husband, a better daddy to my kids. I love you and I'll see you in heaven. Amen. And gave him one more kiss. Folks, with God as my witness, 3 breaths later, my dad took his final breath down here. Well, my friends, to be absent from this body is to be present with the Lord.
Yes, yes.
And if we know our loved ones again, if we know Christ, we're going to see them again. Amen? Oh, listen.
It was cool on a Sunday morning when Grandpa took a train to heaven's door. Finally got to walk with Jesus, and then he wasn't hurting anymore. I won't forget the look on Grandma's face. Piano played Amazing Grace, and now what we would give just to walk with him down that gravel road again and hear the stories of the war he fought in, share a smile and sit and talk about the past. We wish that things could stay the way they've been. It's good to know it's not the end. She finally clocked out at the office. She had just one thing on her mind. Made a phone call to her husband. Said, let's go on a date tonight. She said, I love you, and hung up the phone. Got in the car but never made it home. Oh, but now what he would give just to walk with her through the neighborhood again, share a meal with her in that same booth they sat in, and just to tell her how his day was spent. And he wishes things could stay the way they've been. It's good to know it's not the end. They may go before us, but God tells us we'll see them again. Amen. So praise the Father, praise the Son. The battle's over, our victory's won. My train is boring to take me home. I'll just smile and tell whoever holds my hand, it's good to know it's not the end.
Yes, it is.
It's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know. It's good to know it's not